Your phone won't work either.
Whoever sent the bad link? Or did you have to wait?
I got it.
You're trying to get in too early.
Maybe.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, Shane.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Good evening.
So far.
I'll confess, I'm a little tired. It's my third night meeting in a row. But so far, so the first two went swimmingly, so hopefully that's a good sign.
As long as you don't fall asleep, I'm for it. If you see munchkins rolling around, it's...
I can hear them, which is adorable.
Me.
So Shane, you're going to do a little intro, then kick it over to Molly.
Yes. Anything specific you want me to talk about, say, or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Our plan is to start with some introductions, and then we'll go into kind of the project background and approach, and then walk through a few things. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
So feel free to, chime in as well when we go through.
Okay.
All right. Looks like we have a few more people that have signed on. Just want to welcome everybody, and we'll get started probably in the next 5 minutes. Give people a couple more minutes to start signing in. All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started here in just a minute as I'll work to pull a couple of these things up. Oops. I'll switch these, and Shane, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first public workshop for the Chenango County 2050 Vision Plan. My name is Shane Butler. I'm the county's Director of Planning and Airport Administrator. With us today is Molly Gaudioso and John Steinmetz. They are from Bergman. They are the contractor who will be helping us along the process. They'll be doing a lot of this public engagement. They'll be, walking us through the public involvement process, including, surveys, whatever it may be. So I will turn it over to Molly and John.
Thanks, Shane. So yeah, we're excited to be here to present and kind of walk through, this effort, the 2050 Vision Plan effort. We have some, great things that we want to go through with you this evening. We'll just do a little bit of an introduction about us and our team. We want to kind of give an overview of the project and, what we'll be looking at, what it entails and the timeline. And then, we want to dive a little bit into the current Vision 2020 plan and give a little context to, what Chenango County was then and what we're looking at now and trying to address for issues and opportunities. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some next steps and go through Q&A. So please feel free to utilize the Q&A box in the webinar to put in any questions as we go through the presentation. We also have a few questions and things to ask you as we go through if you are interested in putting those in the chat. So with that, as Shane said, I'm Molly Gaudioso. I am the project manager of this project, and with me is John Steinmetz as the planning principal. It's one just sort of note as if you see as things go along and kind of engage with us. Our company is now joined Colliers Engineering and Design. So if you see our names or our, contact information or things change in the future, that it reads as Colliers, it's still us. we're just, in the throes of that process right now. On our team also, we have a series of sub-consultants helping us out with various aspects of the project. Camoin Associates working through some of the economic development and market assessment. Alleyway Marketing, who has helped to brand the project and will also be taking a look at some of the branding opportunities for different initiatives that may result from the plan. And we have Lua Engineers as part of our team as well, again, taking a look at some of the environmental and the infrastructure elements related to the plan and sustainable planning and design, which is assisting us also from the planning perspective. Our background and our experience, John and I together have done over 50 comprehensive and long-range planning processes, 40 of the, and then another 40 zoning and land use regulation projects, taking a look at, whether it's land use laws for rural communities or zoning code updates for, villages and cities. We've also done 13 out of those over 50 comprehensive planning and long-range planning efforts were joint planning and zoning updates. So that includes efforts with, joint efforts between towns and villages, a full county-wide effort. We helped Schuyler County with their comprehensive plan update a few years ago. And, throughout all of these processes, we've facilitated hundreds of public meetings and workshops, which, we hope to be a strong element of this effort. So this is the first, but not the last time that you'll see us, and hopefully you'll be able to talk with us about the project.
Molly, one thing I'll just add is I just want to give the county credit because, long-range planning at the village level or the town level or even the city level is becoming fairly common for all the right reasons. At the county level, it's not nearly as common. So I want to give, Shane's office credit and the county leadership credit for seeing the value and the wisdom in this long-range planning effort.
Absolutely. And additionally, and taking a look at that through all of those efforts, we bring, a lot to the table that'll hopefully help guide not only the development of this plan, but, the action plan and the understanding of how the county can realize, some of the goals and the strategies towards that revised vision or Vision 2050 2050. You know, we, as I mentioned, are community planning and engagement specialists, but we also work a lot and with our team members. We've worked with Camoines specifically on a number of projects, as well as really all of our sub-consultant team members in looking at economic development strategies, assessing transportation and infrastructure. We have a lot of capabilities in terms of, you know, utilizing GIS and mapping, which will, you know, help kind of give a better picture to where things stand across the county, and looking at conservation, sustainability, green energy, and as I mentioned before as well, marketing and branding, whether that's, you know, an element related to the county or, you know, in general, or to tourism and tourism efforts as well. So with that, you know, brief introduction of ourselves. If you know, would like to, we kind of want to know a little bit about who's joined us this evening, maybe where you're, you know, joining us from, where you live or where you work, what your interest is in the county and in this effort. And my view of the chat, I can't see, so if they're coming in, John, if you could help read those.
I can.
Thank you.
Not a problem. If people are like me, they're kind of slow typists, so it might take a second. But we have a hand up, Molly.
Oh, okay. You can unmute if that's a question.
Yeah, Yusuf, let me be right with you. Hold on. Yusuf, I don't know if I'm saying your name properly, but no, hopefully.
Okay, yeah, you got it right.
There you go. We can hear you.
Yeah. You said chat, and I'm looking all over the screen. I do not see any place that I can press where I can type in a chat. There's a hand up, there's a show conversation, there's show participants, there's a hang up. And so where's the chat button?
You should see it all the way to the left.
To the left?
Yep. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen, but that's not how my screen appears.
It looks like we do have some
Chat's coming in.
Yeah, some chats coming in. John, can you read those?
Yeah, I can. So Yusuf, do you have the Q&A feature?
Yeah, type in there.
If you can't find the chat, or if it's not available to you, just use the Q&A feature if that's available to you. Either way, it'll come to us.
Okay. So it looks like we've got a good mix.
There you go. Now I'm back on the chat, Molly. Just some things that people have shared with us. I'll try to hit the high points in terms of what brought people here tonight and who people are. We've got the Director of Public Health, also the resident of Norwich. Town of Smithville, also representing Chenango Memorial Hospital. Welcome. Town of Smithville, hoping to create a better future for my daughters here in Chenango County. Norwich, joining as a boomerang young professional and family of 5 to see if Chenango County will be the place we want to live long term. Elizabeth Monaco, Executive Director of United Way of Mid-Rural New York and Norwich, and also lives in South New Berlin. Victoria Mitchell, United Way of Mid-Rural New York, Norwich, New York. Welcome, everybody. The Chenango County Historical Society, where we celebrate all local culture and heritage. Looking forward to seeing the vision of our county moving forward, as are we. Binghamton represented economic development specialist at the Southern Tier Regional Board. Alexis Family Planning of South Central New York, participating on behalf of our patients and staff that live in Chenango County. Stephen Preston Town Board Member. He's worked in tourism, economic development, education, and run manufacturing companies in the county, among other things. A variety of perspectives represented, so welcome. Salvatore from Commerce Chenango, lifelong resident of the county, started in this role with the chamber about 8 months ago. Has been both a professional and personal interest in the success of this plan. Norwich resident, planner with Chenango County Planning Department, hope to create outdoor recreation activities here in the county. And last but not least, Craig Brown, Executive Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension of Chenango County, currently administering the youth and animal shows at the Chenango County Fair. That sounds fun. Looking to find more opportunities for our local communities and their families. I think that covers them all. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, that's great. So, again, this is a really good mix, and we're hoping that, as we kind of go through, at the end of this, we'll be launching a survey, and I'll be touching base on other ways that you can get involved and kind of share and spread the word about this project, over the next series of months. So in our project background, where sort of this effort is coming from, looking at from the county's perspective, kind of identifying the need to update and refocus the current 2020 vision plan into a 2050 vision plan. As we'll touch base on that, current plan was developed in 1992. So there's, a lot of reason to kind of take a look at where Chenango County is today. A lot of this, was put together, and, Shane, feel free to speak to this element as well, but through a partnership with the Planning and Economic Development Committee and the Planning and Economic Development Department, Development Chenango Corporation, and the Southern Tier 8 Regional Planning Agency. This project has been funded with a couple of grants from the Appalachian Regional Commission and Empire State Development through the New York State grants programs, and there was also a commitment from the Development Chenango Corporation that's helped supporting, the development and all of the pieces that are going into this effort. The overall goals of the project, first and foremost, making sure we're fostering a high level of public engagement, and through that process, getting the feedback that we need to identify, some of those elements of how and where economic development should occur, looking at decision making and guiding decision making for resiliency, sustainability, and energy independence. Defining, how the county may be able to enhance personal services, things like broadband internet access, childcare, housing opportunities, transportation opportunities, and identifying, those various long and short-term goals and strategies that the county, all the local governments and other agencies and organizations and partners within the county how they can work together to achieve that vision. This project does have a project committee, and we'll be meeting with the committee 8 times over the course of the project process as we walk through sort of the timeline and the development of each of the planning pieces. And, certainly working directly with the Department of Planning and Development and Shane and his team, making sure, we're kind of addressing any of the issues and opportunities that come up along the way, and leveraging a lot of the really great work that's already being done. The plan focus areas, as kind of highlighted in the goals for the projects, certainly the Vision 2020 plan, as we'll take a look at, covers a, breadth of topics, which is a great element of, the plan itself, but there's really 3 top priority focus areas that have come out to help guide this effort, which includes those goals and strategies for economic development, business attraction and retention, various job and workforce opportunities, housing opportunities, supporting transportation and infrastructure, looking at sustainability in the environment, some of the preservation of open space, natural resources, other opportunities related to the green economy and energy, alternative energy, conservation, and lastly, the personal services element, which I had already touched on before, but some of that support through childcare and other resources that the county may be able to support. So our anticipated timeline here, we're in August of 2023 at the project kickoff phase. So we're really in the very beginning of the process and kind of looking to you and other members of the public to give us some feedback and guidance on, where the development of the plan and the focus of the plan should go with respect to those key areas. What we're working on right now is reviewing not only the Vision 2020 plan, but other existing plans, studies, initiatives that the county has and the region has to help give us context for the direction of the plan. This is our first public meeting, and at the end, we'll be launching our online community survey. We will also be providing hard copies that can be distributed at various places around the county. But, and again, another element in our outreach will include stakeholder interviews. So ultimately, in this phase, in the kickoff phase or community discovery phase, we're really looking to put together a snapshot, an inventory and analysis of what the county looks like today so that we can set the stage for conversations and kind of that visioning in the visioning phase, and what feedback from you we have in shaping that vision and those goals. So looking into the fall of this year is when we'll begin piecing together that vision framework. At that time, we've also planned sort of an informational or a check-in meeting with the Board of Supervisors. Ultimately, they will be responsible for adopting this plan. So that is one element, that we'll be including then. All of the sort of bolded green items here are all public outreach opportunities, public meetings, and those survey tools that we'll be utilizing throughout the process. Once we've developed that preliminary vision framework over the course of a series of meetings with the steering committee, we'll move into the action planning phase and putting together an actual implementation plan, identifying a series of actions, community partners, funding opportunities, other elements to achieve those identified vision and goals that were put together in the previous phase. At that point, we'll come out again to, have another public meeting. We'll, look to see what format that may be at that time, but we'll also be including an online sort of survey to help get some feedback on identifying priority actions or maybe other actions and opportunities, and get your feedback on, how the vision itself is shaping up. And then looking into the spring of next year, we'll start to piece all of those elements that we've drafted, that sort of community snapshot, the vision and goal framework, and the action plan into a full draft Vision 2050 plan. We'll bring that out for a public open house, and the committee will hold a public hearing on that. We'll also make sure there's ample opportunity for people to take a look at that, review that online, provide some comments, whether that's through the project website or some other communication channels, and going through that process, ultimately arriving at the plan adoption phase, where we'll complete all of those sort of required adoption elements, like the state environmental quality review process, and present and work with the Board of Supervisors to put the plan forth at a public hearing, which ultimately will result in that final Vision 2050 plan.
Molly, I'll jump in just a second. We've got a couple comments and questions in the chat that are pretty easy, quick to answer. One, we've got a fellow map geek who liked the old map that you had on that the historic map. And then someone had asked, can this PowerPoint be accessed after the meeting? Go ahead, Molly, and answer that.
Yep, absolutely. So on the project website, which we'll share the link in the chat again at the end of this, that we will be posting all of the relevant planning documents and meeting documents and things as we go along. So on the website, you'll be able to actually see the recording of this meeting. We'll make sure to share the slides as well, and as well as obviously the survey link will be live. Additional sort of elements of our public outreach strategy, as I just mentioned, the project website, we'll make sure we're updating that with various information, draft documents, whether it's draft plan documents or some of these presentation documents, included in that when we go before the Board of Supervisors, for example, in the fall to give sort of that update meeting. We'll make sure to share that information on the website as well. And on that website is the ability to submit any comments or questions at any time as we go through the process. So, you'll be able to kind of contact us and reach us, and stay tuned in to what we're working on over the next year. We will also be launching, as I showed in that timeline, 3 surveys. Each of these will include online and hard copies. We want to make sure that it's accessible for everyone, and however, you may be comfortable filling that survey out. We're starting with that visioning survey, and as I mentioned, we'll go and kind of check in with the development of each of the elements of the plan through those surveys. We find that really helpful, for those that may not be able to attend a night meeting, to provide their feedback or their comments, and really kind of extend that period, give people an opportunity to really take a look at what's being discussed and give their feedback as they're available. And we will have at least 4 pop-ups. An example there in the image, we're working with Monroe County on their climate action plan. We've popped up at various community events around Monroe County to kind of spread word about the project and get some feedback as well. So we will, you will see us around, in various places, maybe popping up at your local store as well. So, be on the lookout for that, and hopefully we'll cross paths again. So with that, I'll turn it over to John to talk through the Vision 2020 plan and what things looked like then versus now.
Molly, thank you. And one of the disadvantages of virtual is I can't see everyone's faces, so I'm not even sure how many people were alive when this was put together. I think probably a fair number of the people on this call or on this meeting were, but that was 30-ish years ago. So time really flies. So let's kind of set the stage and provide a little bit of context. You think back from 1992, think about what was going on in your life. Were you in college, were you raising a family, were you retiring, whatever the case may be. Just think about the world, and it was a very different place. You've got George H. Bush was president. Gas was about $1.13 a gallon. The Bills fans, I apologize, but the Cowboys beat the Bills in the Super Bowl for the sports fans out there. What I think what's more compelling to me is what wasn't happening back in 1992. Amazon booksellers, and that's all they were selling was books, was established in 1994. So Amazon.com did not exist. The social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter didn't come for another decade or more. The millennial generation, which we'll talk about in a second, they were in the process of being born. Generation Z, the younger generation that some of my colleagues are entering the workforce right now, clearly didn't exist. So the world as we know it today, especially with technology and access to shopping and information and content, it was just a completely different place. Going in a little bit deeper, our population of our country has grown significantly. But what I found interesting, the county population from 1992 to around 2022, the county population has decreased from about 52,000 residents to about 46,000 and change. So the county has seen a slight decline in population. We haven't done a deep dive into all the socio-demographic information for the county yet. That's kind of on our next steps. But these are just some high-level pieces of information for you to think about tonight and maybe over the next week or so. You also think about, our national economy. Back in 1992, if you look at the top Fortune 500 companies, it was General Motors, Exxon, Ford, IBM, and General Electric. all 5 of those made things, motor vehicles, computers, gasoline. You look at the top 5 Fortune 5 companies last year, it was Walmart, Amazon, Apple, CVS, and United Healthcare Corp. The only one that really manufactures anything in that list is Apple. So clearly, no surprise to I think most of the people on this call, but I think it's just evidence of moving from more of a manufacturing economy to a service-based economy and consumption-based economy between when the Vision 2020 plan was drafted versus where we are today. Some other trends. We continue to get older as a country, as a nation. When you look at the percent of U.S. population over the age of 65, it's going to continue well into 2030 and a couple years beyond 2030. So maybe another 8 to 10 years where the percent will continue to grow and then it'll taper off and then ultimately flatten out. But our country will continue to get older for the next a few decades. When I mentioned the millennials, why did I mention the millennials? They've become an important demographic. By 2030, millennials will outnumber baby boomers by 22 million people. And why are they important? Well, one of the reasons they're important, in 2017, they officially surpassed the baby boomer generation as having more spending power than any generation currently in existence in our country. So when you think about jobs, when you think about businesses, when you think about attracting employers or employment or employees, the millennial generation is a huge part of that conversation. Some other trends that we're seeing in other places that we work and things that just have caught our ears as professional planners. Public health has really come to the forefront. Issues such as the rising rates of obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, things of that nature are something that we're hearing more and more about with our client communities. Volunteerism is becoming more and more of a challenge over the last several decades. Getting with raising kids in soccer games and lacrosse and going all these different directions, it's hard to find time to volunteer these days, and it's starting to really impact some places, especially places with that rely on, for example, volunteer ambulance or fire. Here's some data from New York State only. So in 1998, there was about 110,000 volunteer firefighters. In 2021, that number dropped to 75,000. That's a 32% drop in volunteers. Meanwhile, during that same time period, calls increased by 29%. So, I think volunteerism, which is kind of at the heart of a lot of our communities, is something that is going to has been a challenge and will continue to be a challenge as we move forward, and something to think about. Looking at things such as child poverty, looking specifically at Chenango County. Chenango County's got about 1,600 children currently living in poverty. That represents about 17% of children in the county live below the poverty line, which is the bright spot is that's less than in New York State as a whole poverty rate for children at 20%. But it's so, again, something significant to think about when we're thinking about personal services and support networks and things of that nature. Employment industries, just looking at some of the shift from 1992 to just some numbers we grabbed today. And I'm just going to, Stephen, before I get into the content on the slide, Stephen, there's a chat comment that says, but our region is still a manufacturing area. In a study from the ARC several years ago, 27% of our residents worked in manufacturing at a much higher wage than average, and that's excellent. And that, I think, we're not seeing that in all the places we do our work. So 27%. Our numbers that we just pulled were closer to around 20%, depending on how you slice them. But I think what's interesting is you look back in 1992 for Chenango County, that number is over 40%. So whether it's 20%, 27%. That's good in this day and age in a lot of the places we work. When you look at 1992, it's not quite half of what it was, but that's a significant shift from manufacturing away from manufacturing.
I should note too, this information is based on the U.S. Census employment industry data for county residents. So these will be things that we'll kind of dive into a little bit more when we get into that sort of whole county snapshot or community profile, and understanding, not only what types of jobs are in what industry current residents are working, but what industry jobs may be available within the county, and even looking at commuter trends and things, how many residents are working within the county versus those that may travel outside the county for jobs, or the trend also, certainly in considering COVID, working from home, and some of those other elements, as we know that employment and retail has an office kind of opportunities have really been impacted significantly as a result of the COVID pandemic.
Thank you, Molly. Great points. So, what are some of the forward-looking concepts and ideas in the current Vision 2020 plan that was developed in, the early 90s? It really focused on, 8 goals or topic areas. Recreating the pioneer spirit, which focused on, social support and allowing people, helping people, allowing people to help themselves and have a gainful and a good life, and whatever support might need to be provided for that. Protecting the environment was one. Streamlining for the long haul, that was about making government and its partners, more efficient. Preserving our rural atmosphere, which is clearly one of the strengths of the county. Investment for a healthy economy. Shelter for tomorrow starts today. That was about housing, which I thought was a really interesting read. Number 7, mastering technology for a better tomorrow. And at the time, it was talking about fiber optic and computer networks. So even in the early 90s, that topic was front and center in the vision plan. And then finally, the last goal area, pulling our resources, pulling together, was about cooperation, again, between governments, between agencies, between towns and villages and counties, and up and down and adjacent communities, and everyone pulling together to do its best for the entire community at large. So those were the 8 main topics covered in the Vision 2020 plan. And just as a editorial observation, it's a well-written document. I think the wording is quite nice, which is not always the case from a document of that era. It was very well done.
So, kind of going through that and understanding a little bit of the snapshot of where the county is, we know we have a lot more information to kind of dig and analyze as we move forward, but just wondering from your perspectives, how is the county doing? Have any priorities changed, or, some of those new elements of maybe challenges or opportunities that the county may be facing?
Nothing in the chat. Nothing in the chat yet, Molly.
Nothing in there yet.
That's all right.
That's
Here
perfect. We're on target.
Elizabeth mentioned substance use disorder issues of ALS families. Thank you.
Yeah, that was something noted in the Vision 2020 plan as well, with addressing some of the substance abuse issues within the county.
Victoria says housing and rental properties. Victoria, just a quick follow-up question in terms of give me a little bit more the condition, and there's not enough housing, the cost. Give me a little bit more context in terms of your comment. That would be appreciated. Conditions and cost. Okay, thank you. Scroll back up. Now they're coming in fast and furious. Shane, our host, says, I think the county, as you said, has changed with greater technology. More people are working from home. Absolutely. We need better internet capabilities, more people from New York City and Long Island moving to the area, creating second homes. Another comment, I think there's an opportunity for more third places / social spaces for young families. As a remote worker, I feel like I have to live in the city to have appropriate broadband coverage.
I think that's a really good observation as well. And one thing, we really didn't dive into, but is certainly an element of the environmental and sustainability component is, looking at the trends of shifting populations, related to moving away from cities. I mean, we did see a little bit of that migration, as a result of COVID. And also, there's been some studies done on potential, moves of individuals from places that may be more impacted by increased flooding, along shoreline communities and some from that element. So that may play a role in planning for housing and development as well.
Yeah, another comment, the 1992 list is still valid. It seems that the context of those issues have changed. Victoria also mentioned traveling for health needs and other needs as an issue, priority. And then we've got a lot of people liking and hearting those. Shane, starting to get some positive change with things to do, parentheses, Greenway Trails, DRI. That's, for those of you who don't know, DRI is Downtown Revitalization Initiative in Norwich. Now is the time to build on these successes, 100% agree. Another comment, and while I don't imagine this kind of project exists, high school seniors, or excuse me, excites high school seniors. If we want to retain young talent locally, what does our youth want? What makes them want to leave or stay? I came back for access to family, but once our kids are older, will we want to stay? Question mark.
That's a good element.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly a population group that will definitely want to try to connect with as we kind of go through and understanding where the county is today and what that vision looks like for retaining the younger generation.
We've got some other follow-up. As a follow-up to Ryan's comment, support for organizations like CCHS that instill pride of place. Another comment, we have amazing festivals and strong community support systems. How do we keep younger generations here? One of the things when we engage with young people, one of the things that's we find interesting to ask is, obviously, if you're planning on staying or going, that's a key question. But if you're planning on staying or going, why? Because some young people, bright lights, big cities, they want to go to New York City, something like that. The young people like that are gonna find their way to somewhere like that, and them staying in upstate New York, Chenango County, Monroe County, Erie County, it doesn't matter. Probably a little less likely, but they're it's the ones that are leaving for a few things that we upstaters and might be able to provide. So that's one of the things that's always interesting to talk about when you're talking to high school juniors and high school seniors. What's their plans and why?
I think another element and another benefit, and certainly that's a component of looking at this countywide, is the various trends. Looking at the different housing environments, whether it's more walkable village environments or more of a rural character type of environment, that new generations and sort of changing preferences, people looking to age in place, empty nesters, all of that. From that standpoint, we have a really good opportunity through this countywide picture to understand how all of those pieces can fit together across all of the villages and the towns and the city.
Molly, another comment. County feels constrained by lack of knowledge of what is actually here versus what is perceived is not here. So awareness of, I think it's assets. Yes. And
promotion. Yes, it's good. Keep them coming if you'd like to. We want to make sure we're being respectful of everybody's time and leaving time for some questions. So where we are in the process, we are launching the visioning survey. As I mentioned, this will be open for a couple weeks. We'll get the word out, you can access that on the county website, this QR code. If you have your cell phone in front of you, or another device, you can take a picture of this QR code. It'll take you right there to the survey. As I mentioned, we'll also be providing some paper copies to the county that maybe can go out into the different libraries and county offices and other places, municipal halls throughout the county, to help get again the word out and connect people to that opportunity. So I'll make sure to put this link in the direct link to the survey in the chat as well, following our last slide here. In terms of next steps, as I mentioned, we'll continue taking a look at the existing plans and studies. One element is making sure we're, kind of understanding where a lot of that momentum that was mentioned by Shane is coming from with the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, taking a look at, some of those past planning efforts, like not only what's come out of the vision plan, but the previous comprehensive plan, some of the other regional studies that may be, underway, and all of the initiatives that the county has actually undertaken recently, to implement various job growth opportunities, things for EVs, electric vehicles, all of those elements. So we want to understand, what successes there have been within the county, so we can continue to leverage those, but also, take a look at how well the county has been able to achieve some of those goals from the other plans and studies, and maybe answer the question of why or why not, and how we can better set the county up to achieve them with the new Vision 2050 plan. We'll also be conducting, as I mentioned in the beginning, the stakeholder interviews and be pulling all of the results from the community survey, the stakeholder interviews, some of our, deep dive in the community profile to the committee at our second meeting in the next month. And what we'll, make sure to do is all of the input from the community survey and, the notes from the stakeholder interviews, information related to the county community profile will all be posted, as I mentioned, on the project website. If you sign up, there is a box at the end of the survey to put in your email if you'd like to receive project updates. So as some of these things become available, we can make sure to reach out to you and give you an update on, what resources are there and what additional opportunities for feedback there may be. And with that, we'll kind of break this into the question and answer. I don't know if maybe there's already some questions in the chat.
There's a couple other chats that I will share, Molly.
Oh, okay.
One said students do not understand the jobs that are available. And this another one, I think this vision plan should consider what, if any, impact will a Micron investment have in our county. A transformational project, in Clay, north of Syracuse, the ripple effects will extend extremely far. So that's a good comment.
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at the Q&A just to make sure we're covering both our. Looks like everyone's comfortable using the chat. So far, nothing in the Q&A, but the chat's been pretty effective. Steven said, thanks everyone. I need to run to my town board meeting. He's a dedicated person sitting in on this and going to his town board. So.
Well, thank you for attending.
So I think when we were working with you earlier, you had said that there are opportunities for people that may be like community individuals that they can do their own kind of pop-up meetings.
Yeah.
So that might be a good opportunity to talk to some of the people that are here today about, how can you help us have those other meetings to really gather additional community input?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I apologize. I should have put some information on that on one of the slides. The So what we'll do is, as we put together like some of the information or sort of discussion material that we want to be having, with the steering committee, but also get some more feedback, maybe a deeper dive in conversation on some of these key issues like housing or like job opportunities and, retaining younger generations. What we'll be able to put together, and again, we'll make sure, we can post on the website, but you can also contact us and we'll share it with you as well. Facilitator's guide. So if you want to meet with your neighbors or you want to meet with your other local organizations, other committees, boards, please feel free to utilize that. And we'll be kind of putting those out there with kind of the directed conversation for each of the phases that we're in the planning process. So as I said, right now, the community discovery phase, once we start looking into the development of the vision and action framework, and then ultimately the full plan picture. So absolutely, that's a great tool for us, and we can get a lot more kind of detailed and feedback and ideas from the community that way.
And I think to that point, there's some town board members, obviously here, planning board members, not for profit. So if you have board meetings where you can, disseminate this information and really have a thoughtful discussion as part of your organization as to what, as you as an organization want to see for Chenango County, that would be a great opportunity for you to do that.
Yeah.
Molly, we've got an interesting question that I think you'll find fun to think about. Can you speak to the difference between vision and need, ? An ideal vision is different from what is needed to advance the community. In my 2 cents, because I've had a little more time to think about it than Molly, I think a good vision and vision document should obviously address and speak to the needs of the county. I think one is part of that vision framework. We need to address needs, obviously. But I would also say that a vision should also articulate how to capitalize on opportunities. So it's not just a need base is coming almost like the glass is half full. We have to make the glass, or half empty. We need to make the glass full. I think opportunities are the glass is half full and we can even do better. So I think it needs to encompass need and opportunity. I think that's kind of that would be my answer to that question. Molly and Shane, I don't know if you've got anything to add.
I mean, I guess, I would say using sort of an example of that in looking at things like infrastructure, right? Every community has a need to continue to maintain that infrastructure, paving roads, looking at community services that may be provided. There may be a need for those. I think the vision element comes in when you decide, okay, when we address that, when we invest in roadway infrastructure, how are we enhancing that to not just address the need, but improve quality of life? Are we putting in additional trails or additional amenities? Are we adding bike lanes to, roadways in certain areas? Are we expanding, taking a, infrastructure element, and instead of kind of just continuing on with the status quo, how are we re-envisioning that to serve, the community today and tomorrow? So another good element or example of that is the energy component, and looking at the need and expanding need for energy use as we continue as a society, but how, and from a vision standpoint, can we help to build energy independence or bring in alternative energy and kind of address more than, just one element of the vision, but also maybe economic development and the jobs that may come with investment in those, that infrastructure, how it may further enhance, community opportunity and connectivity, how it may benefit, the environment and conservation. So absolutely, it's, from our standpoint, we don't go through this phase, the discovery phase and the inventory phase, just to say, okay, here's where, Chenango County is. We want to understand what those needs are, maybe what those deficiencies are, and what those opportunities are, so we can identify the implications and how we can achieve the best outcome in addressing them, or recommend that action to achieve the best outcome.
I guess to me too, it's like the vision could be that we want to make sure that everybody in Chenango County has the opportunity to be employed. So whether that be getting them broadband out to their home or providing public transit out to their homes, whatever may be their difficulty in getting to employment, we want to, our vision is to break that barrier. So how do we get to there?
A couple other comments from Salvatore. We can make this a subject of discussion for the DCC and Commerce boards. And then he had a follow-up comment. Does the vision plan include an action plan? It doesn't yet, but it will once we produce it.
Yeah, and I think to that point, again, it's, you can't have a vision without, a way to, how do you access that? How do you emphasize, how do you get to there?
Molly, thanks for posting that.
Yeah, I'm just I'm sharing. That's the direct link to the survey, and then you'll also find a link to the survey on the Get Involved page of the website, project website. Any other questions or thoughts that anyone has?
So I guess again, to this point again is, we only had about 20 something people on here. So, the ones that I see that are here, typically you're the ones that we see all the time because you're the ones that want to make this community great. So if you could really, really just help us, invite other people, send the survey out, if you have email lists, anything that you can do to really get the public involved, this is how we're going to get people engaged and move this community forward is through their participation. So anything you can do, whether it be through your employer, if you have, some kind of like promotion that, hey, while you're at work, if you can fill out this survey, I don't know, something just to get more people involved. So we would really appreciate that.
Yep. Post we'll send out as well, and we'll post it to the website, like a flyer or sort of maybe social media post that can help you get the word out. So if your organization has a social media presence, you can share that. Please feel free to share the links, of course, directly. And another element, and we find really successful putting these flyers and things in local, businesses, local restaurants, where people are gathering and kind of visiting across the county.
By the water cooler, or on the fridge at work.
All right.
Shane will give you the last word, but I just want to say thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. It's a beautiful night where we are, and these summer nights in upstate New York are limited. So thanks for taking your time to be with us this evening.
Yeah, we know we're competing with the free county fair tonight, so everybody's probably there, but that's okay. We, like you said, you got the survey online, so again, we really appreciate you taking the time to spend your night away from the fair with us, and we hope you will come out again for the survey. We'll have extra events, the pop-up events, and again, if you want to host something at your organization, if you need anything from us, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, that's a great point. Put the survey at the fair. We'll send you, Shane, and your team some larger flyers. And again, we're not going to hold anything back from anyone, so we'll make sure all those files are on the website. But so you have those, and a little larger size, catch people's attention.
Yeah, it gives us a reason to post some flyers and get down to the fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone for taking the time. It was a good conversation.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.